Hello, my name is Jithin VJ. I'm one of the faculties taking anthropology at ENLITE IAS. I have been associated with ENLITE IAS for over 7 years, initially as a student. Then I cleared this exam, got into the service, resigned from ICLS, and ever since I have been associated with ENLITE IAS. I'm here to congratulate SIDHARTH Ramkumar for his remarkable success in this year's UPSC Civil Services examination, and especially his anthropology marks. He has scored 326 marks in anthropology. These days, when 260 plus is considered a decent score in optional, scoring 326 is like next to impossible. Siddharth really has some unique strategies and ways of writing his answers, both GS as well as anthropology. And Siddharth has been associated with ENLITE IAS for his GS mains answer writing, and we are really proud of his achievement. So today's session is regarding Siddharth's strategies for his anthropology optional. I'm sure that this is going to help candidates who are opting for anthropology in future civil services examinations. So we'll go into the session. Thank you.
Hi all, welcome to ENLITE IAS. Today we have with us Sri SIDHARTH Ramkumar, who secured All India rank 4th in the Civil Service Examinations 2023. He has also scored 326 marks in anthropology, which is the highest this year. Congratulations, Siddharth.
Thank you.
And welcome to the session.
Thank you.
So, how did you start your preparations and how did you come to this field?
So I did my graduation in architecture from Kerala University.
Okay.
I graduated in 2019 and post that I started giving UPSC attempts. And in 2020 attempt, I got into Indian Post and Telecom Accounts and Finance Service. In my 2021 attempt, I got into Indian Police Service and I got allocated West Bengal cadre. And 2022 I again gave, my rank improved to 121, but there was no change in service. And in 2023 CSE, this time finally got All India rank 4.
Okay, so you mentioned that you had your graduation in architecture. So anthropology seems an entirely different subject altogether. So how did you select your optional?
So I was thinking about whether to do civil services or not from about 2019 in my final year.
Okay.
And I was like looking into trying to zero in on the different optionals that were available. And there were some people who had design background. In particular, there was a person from IIT Bombay, if I'm not wrong. He had design background and he had taken anthropology optional. And he had gotten about 320 or so, if I'm not wrong. So one reason was that the content was easily available. I wanted something which could be easily completed in like 3 months or 6 months. And then notes were easily available. There were enough toppers. And getting 300 was not that difficult, especially in 2019, 2020. Number of people getting 300 was much more.
Yes.
And also, anthro I felt was possibly one subject where a diagrammatic representation could possibly be explored in a much more larger fashion. And like you could improvise a lot. Even now, I feel anthropology is one optional where you can actually improvise from different subjects. You can improvise in your own way, although the core remains the same anthro thinkers. But then you can improvise a lot is what I feel. So I thought that could be somewhere which I could not get bored. I can try a lot more things like diagrammatic representation and more case studies and different things.
Okay, I think your architectural background had helped you in this diagrammatic representation side.
Like I try to incorporate that also to keep like ourselves motivated and all that.
Okay. So for a fresher, what do you think that what things they should be in their mind while taking an optional?
Like I think personally, again, it's a personal decision, multiple factors, and I think there are multiple ways to look at it. But I feel optional, I saw it from a very realistic standpoint. Okay. I wanted to take an optional which could be completed quickly because this is a competitive exam. It's an exam at the end of the day. So you have to take you have to take a subject which you like. Basically, the main factor should be the fact that it is something that excites you. Okay. And then it should also be a scoring one because there's no point of taking something which you like, but then if it is not scoring well or if it is not a subject where you have enough content or people who have cleared. So like you need content, you need people who have cleared, who have to know them. And then it has to be like concise and something where the syllabus is interesting to you. So like interesting, short, people who have cleared, well scoring.
Yes. So coming to the syllabus aspect, I think anthropology is having one of the shortest syllabus as well as where we can do multiple revisions, I think.
Correct.
So how far does that help you in your optional thing?
Like I think so mainly I think first thing is like in your first serious attempt, it helps to a certain extent in the fact that you can complete the syllabus. So once you complete one reading of the syllabus, you feel confident that you have at least done this much. Then you can focus a little more on GS. And also I think after prelims and the time between the 3 months between prelims and mains, you can actually try to revise it 3 to 4 times. And if you make the short notes concise, even like every time, if you make it shorter and shorter, you can even complete the whole revision of the paper 2 between paper 1 and paper 2. So I think the syllabus is very concise, and it gives an opportunity to make very short notes, crisp notes, and complete, especially the paper 2, you can complete it in like 20-30 pages of notes. So I think the fact that it is small actually helps.
Okay, so you had these concise notes readily prepared.
Yes.
Okay. So what was your note making strategy? Where you make notes at the first glance or you did it afterwards?
So I went to an institute in Delhi, did 3 months coaching there for Anthro, and I had made notes from whatever the institute material was there. And then I read some basic books like I started with a book called Anthropology Simplified by Vivek Basme. I think most serious aspirants will be knowing. It's a very basic book, but even now I feel it's a very, very good book because it's very simple. It is already in question answer format. And even if you think you know a lot, the fact that when you revise, it is already in question answer format. There's introduction, there's conclusion. You have it divided into subheads and all that. That helps. I think even if you are if you have given 3 good mains, or you are already in a good service, I think even then some simple things, keeping it simple actually helps. So that book was there. Then I had read material. So this time I added some material from IGNO, from some toppers like Mandar Patki sir and Narayan Amit sir. And then I had taken some extra case studies from JSTOR research articles, like just some 2-3 line case studies I had added from that. So some topper notes, some research articles, and basic books.
Okay, coming to the books and sources that you referred to. So there are multiple books, like for physical anthropology we have P. Nath, then sociocultural anthropology we have another set of good books.
Nadeem Hasnain.
Yeah, Nadeem Hasnain and all. Especially for paper 2 also there are books like that.
Correct.
So did you do it from the basic books like that, or you referred mostly to the topper notes?
So I started with the basic books. P. Nath, I had read P. Nath, I had made short notes of physical anthro. And then I had read Nadeem Hasnain also, but then Nadeem Hasnain's notes is a very basic book. I felt extra content is not much there, but it helps to build a basic foundation for sociocultural anthropology. I did read even Madan and I forgot, there's a introduction, Madan and Majumdar, Introduction to Sociocultural Anthro.
Yes.
So the basic books which people generally say, which is generally there, the talk is there in the town. So I did read everything. Because again, there is the FOMO factor. You want to read everything. You don't want to miss out on anything.
Exactly.
But then after that, after first attempt, so 2020 attempt, I got 281 marks, which is decent. But then my paper 1 mark was only 130 odd. Paper 2 was 151.
Okay.
So after that, in last 1-2 attempts, especially this attempt, I focus more on value addition, more on topper notes, and a little more on my own research articles collected from different things, and also on PYQ. So I felt that PYQs also help a lot. I keep remembering there's a particular question to compare the tribal policy of India, New Zealand, Australia and US.
Yes.
So that is a question which most people will not prepare. Even I did not prepare till last attempt, because that question doesn't repeat. Even if it repeats, you can skip that batch and you can take another set of questions. But I feel that is a dimension which can be used in multiple areas. Like if you have a short note on the tribal policy of New Zealand, Maori, they are very empowered tribes. If you have some policy or some good examples from US, like which laws, which was the timeline, what was the this thing. So comparative analysis of US, UK, India, New Zealand, I think that also helps. So some of the PYQs also give you some dimensions and some good points on how to go about the different questions.
Exactly. Coming to this particular question that you referred to, I think it came in my 2017 attempt, if I am right.
Okay.
This comparison. So I think in a way it is a repetitive question, and PYQs do help a lot in anthropology.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Like again, there were different questions. I feel one PYQs, one the fact that it helps because it can directly come, especially in optional and especially in mains. A lot of the PYQ questions actually repeat. Only the wording changes. The crux of the question remains the same. And in a second way, I think even if the direct question doesn't repeat, it can come if a 20 marker can come as a 10 marker, or a part of the 20 marker can come in a comparative question, or at least it can give you some extra points or some framework to think about. Like sometimes the question itself will be very detailed as to the subheadings required. So that can give you a framework to frame the answer in another question.
exactly, the same wordings are mostly used by the UPSC every year.
Correct.
So all those things, once you prepare the PYQs, I think anthropology, at least 70 to 80% questions, you can actually
Predict
the questions and make ready-made answers, I think.
Correct.
Yeah. So coming to the value addition part again. So I knew that your marks improved a lot over the years, and now it's like one of the highest. Nowadays, very rarely people cross the 300 mark in optionals. So, can you briefly explain about the value addition part? Apart from you mentioned that you did your basic preparations with the books and then value added with the toppers notes and stuff.
Correct.
So, other than that, what can be there to improve the marks?
So in fact, my marks were actually reducing. Like the first time I got 281, then it reduced to 268, then 260, and now finally it went to 326.
Okay.
So one thing, there is a little bit of randomness that has to be, like, we all have to accept that UPSC, there is a level of randomness. And then specifically on the value addition, I think, the institute that I had gone to in Delhi, so that institute also gave a lot of case studies and content. So that was like I had short notes. So I had basically one notebook for every GS 1, 2, 3, 4 and one for Anthro. Like where I had prepared some prepared introductions, conclusions, and some like frameworks for every answer. Like if it is a tribal question, what all subheadings, which all dimensions should I hit, which all and some graphs, some statistics, some case studies, and case studies also based on PYQ and based on the specific main syllabus area that is noted. Like if in some, because the syllabus is detailed, like there is an area like the administrative, like how anthropology helps in administration or something like that, regionalism,
Yes.
all that. So like for every specific area, I had a separate 1 to 2 page note. In that there was a structure, introduction, conclusion, structure, some diagrams. And diagrams also, one was taking the existing diagrams that are already there in like Vivek Basme, in Akshat Jain and all that. And secondly, I this time tried to add some more specifics. Like if it is tribal policy, not just like education number, but then comparison of what it is here, or what it is between different states, like south, central, all that, and then between India and another country, and in terms of numbers. So basically increasing the specificity, it looks good on the eye also when someone is correcting to see some content which is fresh, which is not there in every other paper. So in terms of that, I did collect some statistics, some codes, some value addition. And value addition sources also, as I said, basically the institute content, I had gone to L2A in Delhi. So the L2A content was also very good because L2A sir actually tried to give fresh case studies every year. And after that, I tried to take from JSTOR, IGNO and toppers. But then topper notes are good, I feel, because they give you an idea about what the last year's people, what is the existing benchmark. Now that is a benchmark that you have to reach. And then probably you have to increase the benchmark, improve it, improvise it a little more, push the bar a little more. So there I feel some of the studies which I found from JSTOR, so there'll be very big PDFs, but then there'll be some headings like recommendations or conclusions. So I used to take some of the recommendations or conclusions from them. Like I remember there's one topic like 6th schedule. So about 6th schedule, there are some case studies Vivek Basme and the regular books.
Yes.
So that is like overused, I feel. But they are famous studies, so I'll use them. But then I used to add a little more from JSTOR articles. And there also the people generally, I felt, have a tendency to just quote the study and the thinker. The focus is more on the thinker's name and the study name. But I feel like some more insight onto what exactly new that study has come up with, that might be a little more insightful. Like something like 6th schedule, this time I had found a study on Kashi kingdoms of Meghalaya. So there they had made a comparison about what is the budget of a district council compared to the state budget. So how exactly they are at a disadvantaged position, or how exactly the gender composition is, studies by anthropologists in Meghalaya. Like very, very simple. The whole content will be cut short into one paragraph, but then it will be full with data, very, very specific fact. Like, and rather than focusing on just the thinker's name and the study name, like some more detail on why that, what new insights that study is providing, that I think gives more actual value addition.
So you say that in the case studies, that analysis part is also
analysis
important.
part is very important, I feel. Not just the name of the thinker. Even if you miss a surname of the thinker, I don't think that is that important. I think more important is what is the study actually saying.
Okay. So coming to different aspects of your preparation, like we have different topics, especially the paper 1 can be divided mostly into physical anthropology, sociocultural, as well as archaeology. And coming to the paper 2, it can be broadly divided into Indian society as well as tribal culture.
Correct.
So is there any specific strategy that you employed in all these subheadings?
So I mostly felt that even while studying or revising, paper 1 takes about 70-75% of the time and effort, because that is where the crux of the theory, biology, physical, archaeology, everything, most of it is. So even while preparing, I gave more time for paper 1. Although in hindsight, I have gotten more marks except this year. All the other attempts, I have gotten mostly more marks, nearly 150 for paper 2, with lesser amount of time and effort spent. But then again, you connect both, like paper 1 is connected, used in paper 2.
Yes.
And strategy specifically for subparts, I feel, so this year I tried to change something. So one, I read in some toppers content opinion. It given an opinion that probably biology, archaeology and the factual part of the syllabus, probably that could fetch more marks than the sociocultural. Although I have felt I've been more comfortable in sociocultural more. So I try to balance both this time. So this time I did try to become more strong in archaeology because it is very dry. Archaeology is very dry. Biology part is very dynamic. But then I try to prepare on all PYQs, all possible areas from PYQ and from syllabus areas on archaeology and biocultural, biophysical part. So that is one thing I try to change a little. And in that I try to add mostly like content was same, but then I try to ensure that I have 250 word content for all PYQs that are asked, especially the ones which are a little out of the way. And for mains areas, I used to ensure that there is a proper framework, 250, 300, 350 words, which is there with studies, with case studies, with references. And I also try to add relevance. So like the governance relevance. Why is it important for civil service? Why, how we can connect it with governance, some policy, let's say genetics. It can be connected to how solving India's problem as being the TB capital or the rare diseases thing. Something like that. Connecting it to governance aspect, connecting it with, and also this time around I tried to add some own experiences also, although that is very limited. Like some of the, like we had some settlement studies in architecture. There was one study about Maturu village in Karnataka, one about a handloom village in Kerala. So some of those content also I tried to incorporate. Like as a student of anthropology, just like you use it in interview, sometimes you can possibly use that also in the answers. Like it gives a little bit of own flavor.
Exactly. So your answers will look different from the rest. Yes. If you add that relevance part towards the end.
Yes.
I think you added towards the end.
I added towards the end.
Yes, great. So, yeah, then coming to the diagrams, you might have used that for physical anthropology.
I use for everything.
Okay, great.
Like again, so, like for GS, I try to prepare, like everything was like prepared beforehand, because I feel there is very little time to think.
Exactly.
While writing mains, any paper in mains, GS or optional. Like if you have a set of like 5 questions for every mains area, like let's say there's a topic on like cell gene expression. Like you have to have a set of diagrams which is there, like mtDNA or like set of diagrams based on PYQ, based on the syllabus area. You have to have more than 3-4 diagrams. Usually for first 2 attempts I had 1 diagram. But the problem is if a direct question on that is not asked, you can not use that diagram.
Yes.
So this time around I tried to add the number of diagrams also, increased it. It's a little more effort, but then some general diagrams which could be used in more areas and some specific diagrams based on PYQs which are repeating. So you are betting on the recurrence of the question and on some things which you can tweak according to the question.
And you also improvise the diagrams, as you said.
Improvise. And one way diagrams help is, I feel, sometimes you have lots of content in some areas.
Yes.
There'll be some areas where you have less content, some areas where you have too much of content. So areas where you have too much of content, I think you can compress that content into some diagram. So like you can, if you have 4 or 5 case studies, you can make it into a flowchart, connect the different things, and then like make it into, like you get into this, like you get into a conclusion based on 3-4 studies. So you can compress the extra content that you have into a diagram also.
And it also helps the examiner to correct your papers too, I guess.
That is the presentation also.
Okay. They would love it, I guess. Okay, Siddharth. Now coming to the most important part of the preparation, the answer writing. So how did you go about the answer writing part?
So answer writing, I think especially in first serious attempt, I think it's very important to have a basic idea about like how to structure an answer, what to write in the introduction, like very basic things. Even if you're coming from a very strong background in humanities, whatever it is, like UPSC has a definite structure. It has a 150 word question part and 250 word question part and this thing. So you have to have a clear understanding on how to structure it. And you have to have a confidence, like if I put in this content in body, I'll get decent marks. Like anything above 280, I think there's an amount of luck. But then if you prepare well, I think 280 is very much gettable in any decent optional. And Anthro being generally a more scoring subject, I think there's more chance of getting. So first serious attempt, I think you have to give like at least one set of paper 1 and paper 2 answer writing. And after that, so what I did is like in 2020 attempt, I properly wrote one test series from Delhi. Paper 1 and paper 2, I gave 4 papers each in paper 1 and paper 2. After that, I didn't get much time, and also every time after interview, after result, again writing. Again, there will be like some time when you feel underconfident with the content. So especially this time and the last time I didn't write any single paper. In 2021 attempt, I wrote 1 or 2 papers, but then again I was underconfident and all that, but didn't give multiple papers. But I was confident that if I write it this way, I'll get marks. So that I had ensured in my first serious attempt. And also I kept revising from Busme sir's book, so which again is in question answer format.
Yes.
So I think sometimes brainstorming also helps. So one set of answer writing, like one proper answer writing series helps. After that, for more revision, sometimes if time does not permit, I think brainstorming is also equally helpful. For example, brainstorming all the PYQs. It might not be possible to write every single PYQ,
Exactly.
but you can brainstorm the structure of what you can write, what are the points. You can probably write a structure of what the important questions are. So brainstorming actually helps. That I personally feel it has helped a lot. And answer writing also helped. Like first time I wrote in 2020, I used to I tried to ask the sir there whether I'll get 140 if I write it in this manner. And then somewhere I thought like, okay, if I write it in this way, I'll get about 140. Now the content is more important. So once you gain that confidence, probably you can focus on content more. Although I think brainstorming is important. Like answer writing is very important, but then it's a trade-off between content, answer writing, and brainstorming. So depending on where you need more focus and which attempt you are trying, I think you have to give time accordingly.
Okay, one more important thing is the selection of questions. I think which
Correct.
section, which question to choose. So
Correct.
that becomes very important while you write the mains. So what was your parameters?
So like again, while writing the mains, it is it's a very stressful environment. So it's difficult to actually like before exam. I think you should analyze PYQ. Just analyzing is very easy. Just go through last 3-4 years papers. Like 3 which combination in that there's a 50 mark combination, 15, 15, 20, and then 10 marker combination. So 10 marker combination, you don't have a choice. You have to attempt all questions. So basically whatever little knowledge you have to write it in a proper structure. But sometimes I feel there also, if you write it, like structure it well, like if you give more subheadings, if you give some analysis, if you like space it well, if the presentation is done properly, even questions which are very even on questions which are type of bouncers where you don't know much content, even then if you present it well, if you structure it well, I think you will get decent marks. And it's a competitive exam, so you will get a little more than what the others are getting. And in the other combination questions, I think basic logic is whichever question you know more. And in that also, if you know the 20 marker very well, like 3 questions are there. If you know 2 questions very well, and one question somewhat, I think you should go with that question. If you don't know all three very well. Like nowadays, some combinations are becoming a little difficult. So wherever you know a little more, take that chance. And also areas which are more confident. Like if you think you are more confident in bio area, biology, archaeology, and questions from that area is being asked, and you have some knowledge, then take that area. And also ensure that at least 2 out of the 3 questions you are very confident about.
Okay, I think basically the questions you have more value addition to add,
correct.
and other things. Okay, great. So recently, if you look at the trends, maybe I think after 2019, the question pattern of anthropology has been a little changing, especially the 10 markers, and the role of archaeology has gone up.
Correct.
And they have started asking some questions which are somewhat out of the box or out of syllabus, not out of syllabus, but
Seemingly.
a little beyond the normal questions. So what was your strategy in attempting those questions?
So one thing is like, I think we have to be very like calm, and just like they say in prelims, nowadays the questions are becoming very random. But we have to like reassure ourselves that if it is random to us, it is random to every other person writing the exam.
Exactly.
So even in anthro, like there will be in 10 marker, there will be at least 1 or 2 questions which are very, very difficult. Difficult in the sense you don't have direct content, but then you will have some peripheral content. You will know, like it is, if you like spend like 20-30 seconds peacefully, you will get some peripheral content. Then you will be able to place that, like let's say there's a place name, like archaeology, sometimes name of the fossil or name of the place is asked.
Yes.
If a name of the fossil or place is asked, if you peacefully think about which area it is connected to, you'll get into some area. Like let's say a Tuang baby is asked for 10 marker hypothetically, then you can place it next to Africanus. You know content about Africanus, you can divide it into subheadings, time period, what is the cultural, this thing, biological traits. In biological also you divide it into dentition, this thing, postcranial, cranial. So you have a structure in mind. Just try to place where this question is coming from if you don't have direct content. And then if you peacefully think a little more, you will get some specific content. So some specific content, and then the peripheral content and the structure, if you presented it well, I think you will get equally good marks just like any other person who's getting it well.
Yes. So you just have to space that specific thing in the general context.
In the context.
Okay, great. So one more thing about archaeology. So how did you remember all those names and all? So there's a lot of names to remember also.
Correct.
So
like I think again, if you make short notes, like there was a lot of notes, but then every time you revise, if you reduce the notes into things which you will forget, like there are some things which you will not forget. Every time you revise and shorten the notes, remove that content, only have the names of things which you will forget, and the structure, like what is the intro, just one line, introduction, what is the introduction, what all will you add. If it's an archaeology question, what is the structure, like place, name, who's the finder, which all this thing, cranial, postcranial, the structure, conclusion, value addition, any new case study you wish to add, or any relevance, governance relevance you wish to add, and then names of things which are likely to be forgotten, like place names, fossil names, thinker names, any new value addition you wish to remember. Again, I used to have like one proper anthro notebook which had only value addition. And I even had tried to make, like I had a pocket size book also for anthro and GS, every GS, which I used to like multiple revisions. I mean, revision, there's no alternative for revision.
Yes.
But then every time you revise, be smart to make it shorter and shorter. Like finally, your archaeology note also, which you revise, should be very short so that in 1 hour you can revise the things. So I had a small pocket size book where I had like the final revision note of archaeology and biocultural part, which was difficult. I had some very small notes for that also. I used to read that while I go for jogging or something like that.
So this also helps you to remember when this specific term comes. It helps you to locate.
It helps to place it.
Okay, great. So, is there anything that you want to express to any advice to future aspirants?
I think anthropology as an optional is a very till date it is a very attractive optional, because it consistently it is giving 300 plus scores.
Exactly.
Although the number of 300 plus students might vary every year, but the possibility of getting 300 is very much there every year. I think that's a very important thing. Like there are many options where the mark is not improving much, but then again you have to take the chance. One is the fact that you should like the syllabus. Don't take an option like anthropology just because it is scoring. Take it if you like it. And secondly, once you have taken the subject, and once you know that you like the subject and syllabus and everything, then don't try to waver much, because after a point it is about slogging, like putting in the number of hours, the number of revisions. So after 1 or 2 attempts where you're getting 270 is a decent mark, 280 is a good mark. If you're getting 270, 280, then don't rethink again, like why you're not getting 300. So as I said, my mark went down from 280 plus to 260 before jumping to 300, 326. And I know people who personally, like I know a person who had 310, then came down to 220, again jumped to 310. So sometimes there are factors which are beyond our control. So the main point should be, Anthro is a very scoring subject. It has a huge potential. If you like it, if you are interested in it, and if you put in the basic effort, then stay with it. Like, be confident with the choice that you've taken. So just do the essentials and then have patience.
So if they are passionate about the subject, they can definitely go with anthropology.
They should definitely take it.
Yeah. So thank you, Siddharth, for your time and sharing the insights with the future aspirants.
Thank you.
Yeah. Wishing you all the best in your future endeavors.
Thank you.